Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. Today it's time for our weekly metagame breakdown. Once again, sorry, I'm fairly late. I'll try to better myself, but currently there's a lot of stuff going on with the spoiler season and so on and so forth, balance changes in both games, so I'll try to be, earlier, I'll promise, going forward once there's not a million things going on. Anyway, this is the last data we had before this week's balance patch, so it's also not as relevant going forward as the next data will be, but it is what it is. It's still worth looking at. Also, before we get into the data, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button down below, and now let me introduce you to today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, one of the leading virtual private network providers out there. A virtual private network keeps your data secure and yourself anonymous while using the internet. NordVPN comes with super fast servers, allows you to unlock your favorite entertainment websites like Netflix. They provide a 30-day money-back guarantee. They also have an included cybersecurity suite, which acts as an ad blocker to boot. They don't lock any of your data, provide a 24/7 customer support, and you can use it on up to 6 simultaneous connections, so one account covers most or all of your electronic devices. And most importantly, they don't have any bandwidth limit, so you can use it non-stop without it getting throttled, which is particularly important for heavy users like us. It also won multiple awards and comes highly recommended by top technology experts. So if you're still surfing online without a VPN, now is the time to change that. Get NordVPN now, 70% off for a 3-year plan, including 1 month extra for free using the code ManuS or the personalized link in the description down below. And now on to today's content. Alright, so here we go. As usual, we're going to look at the top 5 most played and the top 5 highest win rate, best performing decks to give you an idea what's going on in the Masters metagame. This, as usual, is based on the data dump by the guys from mobalytics HQ. You can find the full spreadsheets in the description down below if you want to dive deeper into the data. Alright, so first off, Spider Aggro is back in popularity, made it in 5th place this week. This list still is kind of weird and I'm not the biggest fan. I really like that other people have adopted Battlecaster over Horror. That's a pretty good change that I've made quite some time ago. I can totally see Elixir being more appealing now, especially with Mark of the Isles being weaker. I would in fact probably consider swapping marks for Elixirs, but I'm not a big fan of Elixir here over Might. I tried that, and as weird as it might seem because of the unit size and everything, Might is actually a lot better here between working together with Brothers Bond or Mark of the Isles / Elixir, depending on what you play, actually matters quite a bunch, or just buffed spiders and so on. So the extra damage from Might has mattered a lot more in my experience than the cost of Elixir. And once you play 3 Battlecasters, I don't see a reason why you would ever not want to play 3 Crawling Sensation, I think. And I've never been a big fan of Glimpse, especially as a 3-off in this deck. You are an aggressive deck, you just want to curve out, slap your opponent, drop a Darius on 6, and close out the game. And Glimpse just really doesn't fit into that plan. And even like the lifesteal argument isn't that convincing to me, since you can just kind of muscle through that stuff. And if you can't, I don't think like durdling around and glimpsing and setting yourself back tempo-wise is going to do much either. Also, no idea why you would ever want to play a Decimate over the 3rd Darius. Darius has proven to be very important and essential in the deck, and having like a singleton burn spell in the deck that otherwise has no actual reach and depends on unit combat, and only has like pseudo reach in terms of overwhelm, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So some points of criticism here, but yeah, the general direction is pretty good. I would probably just play 3 Darius, play some Mites, swap Mark with Elixir and play more Crawling Sensation. I could totally see jamming like 1 or 2 hosts as well to further give you some punch and make use of all your puny little spiders. deck certainly suffered now a bunch with the patch, since Skitter being a 3-2 is pretty notable, especially against stuff like Avalanche. So this deck has lost a bunch of health and now is particularly vulnerable to Avalanche. So if Avalanche is going to be more popular, this deck is going to suffer, I think. But it's one of the top aggro decks, so it has always been like in and out of the top 5, both in win rate and popularity. So now it's currently back. We'll see how it looks after the patch with next week's dataset. All right, let's get to number 4. Number 4, Ezreal Draven combo, basically as popular as Spiders. This has been like back and forth between this and the Karma variant as the like go-to new Ezreal deck. In my experience, this list has been a bit better in the mirror. I have struggled with the Karma variant against this. Could be wrong here, but this just has played a little smoother. It has more cheap ways to target, so it's a bit better at leveling Ezreal. It's a bit more proactive. Progress Day is more like reliable card advantage. It's like a 3-for-1, while Karma often might just die as a like 1-for-1 and not generate any card advantage, making it further tricky for the Karma variant to keep up. So yeah, if you're seeing a lot of Karma Ezreal, you might want to just switch to Draven Ezreal yourself if you want to play Ezreal rather than play like Karma mirrors. And yeah, it's just not much else to say here. The list hasn't really changed much. If we look at the archetype stats for this specific list, the list actually has a win rate below 50%, while the overall archetype has a win rate of close to 55%, which, like I already said last week, where this was also the most popular list, there keeps to be about 5% of win rate discrepancy between this specific list and the archetype as a whole. So this list might be doing something wrong, while the differences are only subtle. Like other lists have like only 1 or 0 Blade's Edge, basically, and sometimes 2 Culling Strike. They seem to somehow matter unless the person that is constantly playing the most with this list is just not that good with the deck, but is playing more than any other individual variance pilot. So these are the options. So you might want to like tweak this version a little bit, since there are indications that this specific list is not ideal. Also, regarding the Spiders before, same thing here. The Spiders list that we looked at actually had a win rate of like 53%, while the overall Spiders archetype has a whooping like 9% more. It's like 62.4. So another indicator that this list is notably weaker than the archetype at large, which partially might have to do with some of the things that I criticized about the list. So keep that in mind. And there it's even more pronounced, like 9% win rate difference between the specific list and the archetype as a whole. That also includes the 9% lower win rate, means that the other variants have a like win rate that is notably higher than 62% as a whole, if you take that one out, to overall get to the 62. So yeah, this list seems to be like way underperforming relative to the other variants. All right, on to number 3. Number 3, we still have Corinna Control, not too surprising here, still pretty popular, but dropped quite notably in popularity. I'm not 100% sure what the reason is, since I haven't played the deck that much and have struggled to find decks that I like against it, but apparently there are things that cause the deck to not perform as well anymore. Could also be that there were just like a ton of mirrors and people moved away from it because they didn't feel like playing like stupid mirrors all the time, because the mirror of this deck is like kind of dumb. It's just about like who draws like the most Ledros and just Ledros the opponent out of the game. It's not very fun or interesting. And in second place we have Ezreal Karma, so this remains notably more popular than the Ezreal Draven variant. Not too surprised in my experience. This version has been overall more impressive to me than the Ezreal Draven one, but in the mirror specifically, I have been quite impressed by the Ezreal Draven variant against this one. Like, I have not exactly liked to face the Nox Ezreal version. If we look at the win rates though, they are about the same for this specific list and the archetype as a whole, so no real difference here, but also not too surprised since the list is pretty cemented. There are like 2 to 3 cards difference at the most, and they just basically usually serve the same purpose, just are slightly different, so not too surprised that there's no discrepancy. And the most popular deck, you probably know by now, this last week, once again, was the Demacia Midrange, the Bannerman deck, which now has received a notable nerf to Bannerman, so we'll see if the deck can survive or if it will adjust and how it will adjust. I remain a bit skeptical, like the balance change to Bannerman is deceptively pretty big, like a 4-cost 3/3, really not that hot. Deck often only has like 1 or maybe 2 units in play, so in the case where you have 1 unit in play, the Bannerman nerf is particularly devastating because he has so much less impact in that situation as opposed to otherwise that, yeah, that's gonna show. But yeah, also no particular changes or major things here. All right, so on to the 5 best performing decks. So in number 5, we have Discard Aggro. For the first time, Discard Aggro made it into the top 5. I personally, as you full well know, think the archetype is really good and notably underrated and underpiloted, it seems, because the win percentage was pretty bad that people had, while I had like an above 70% win rate over like 200 games almost, or like 150 or something. It was a lot of games, at least like a pretty notable sample size for like a single person. So yeah, there's a lot to say about this list. Basically, I don't like this list. I hate this list. I don't think Zonite Urchin is better than Saboteur or Pet in this deck, almost certainly. So I would probably not play Urchin, but Urchin isn't horrible. The problem is also if you only like free discard is Vision, discarding a Vision turn 1 with Urchin is pretty bad, which is another issue with these discard outlet units, that if you don't have Rig or Chompers, you either lose a card or you have to discard a Vision in a spot where it's often pretty bad, which is why I gave up on these. Same for Sump Dredger, which is arguably even worse. Then only 2 Rummage, kind of a big mistake. Rummage is insane, and with the buff it only got better, so would totally like always play 3. Really big fan of Brothers Bond, would also play 3. Really good with Chompers, Rig, Rookie with the quick attack units. It's just an overall really, really good card. The card is kind of overpowered in a sense, or like pretty pushed, that it seems pretty wrong to me to not play 3 of those. I've really liked it every time I played it in aggressive decks. Still don't like Mystic Shot and Get Excited. They're just pretty inefficient. I explained at length why removal, burn removal is much, much worse in this game in proactive decks than in a game like Magic or whatever, because of the priority pass system. If you want to get the like long version of this, make sure to check out my Discard Aggro deck from a while ago where I dove into this. And yeah, might is okay, I guess. So yeah, I think this list is fairly bad. The archetype overall doing pretty well. This list still had a win rate of 62% over 94 games, so still a pretty good performance for sure. Not as good as my results were over that amount of games with my list, but still pretty good, and notably better than the archetype as a whole. So it seems like people are potentially playing worse versions or playing the deck worse than the person that generated this data set. And I would guess it is one person, because the list is pretty specific and has some odd numbers and stuff that I don't think it's like a net deck. It's probably like the version of one person that liked it and played it. and not multiple pilots. Anyway, on to number 4. Number 4, we have Ezreal Karma. Still popular, still doing well, not surprised. As I already mentioned, win rate of the archetype as a whole, and this specific list, pretty similar, so not much else to say here. Number 3, Demacia midrange. Still also doing well, despite being like the number 1 most popular deck, which is another testament to its strengths. And this specific version, as opposed to the archetype as a whole, has even a higher win rate. Like there are 225 games of almost 65% win rate with the specific list we are looking at, and close to 60% for all the variants. Keep in mind, this I think only includes all the variants that are Demacia / Ionia. That doesn't include the Noxus versions with House Spider as far as I'm aware, because at least last week they were listed separately. Maybe, yeah, I just checked, they are still listed separately. So the Nox version is doing notably worse over a much smaller sample size, which is interesting. Last week it was doing slightly better, but it seems that my intuition that the Deny adds more to the deck than House Spider might be true, but hard to say. Also, this list specifically only plays 1 Deny, which is pretty marginal. Alright. Number 2, Corinna Control. Doing really, really well. Still popular, still going strong. Exceptional win rate, so not going anywhere anytime soon. Also didn't get any nerfs, so will remain one of the tier 1 decks after the balance changes, if I had to guess. And last but not least, Spider Aggro. While only getting in on the ground floor in popularity, it's still going strong again in terms of performance, 62.4%. Basically tied for the throne with Corinna, slightly inching ahead here over a smaller sample size. But yeah, we've seen this win rate of Spider Aggro up and down for like weeks now, so for all the naysayers out there that still don't think Spiders is a good deck, is a tier 1 deck, I think we have seen these kinds of performances of Spider Aggro for way too long now to realistically uphold this claim, and this even includes mirror matches and all that stuff. So yeah, Spiders is the premier aggro deck, or one of the premier aggro decks. Interestingly enough, Elusives didn't make it into any of these categories. It was just not popular enough. The win rate actually was still pretty good, close to 60%, but the win rate, the sample size was below 400 games, so it just has really fallen off in popularity, but is still doing pretty well as an archetype. Same for Burn Aggro. Funnily enough, they actually have the exact same amount of games played and the exact same win rate. So that's kind of an interesting coincidence. Alright, anyway, this concludes the top 5 most played and top 5 best performing win rates of the last week before we get data including the new balance patch. And then we have to look forward to release and all the cool new cards that will really majorly shake things up and give us also a ladder reset. Gonna be interesting how the mobalytics guy is gonna approach this, given that initially there won't be any master data at all, so maybe we won't get a data dump at all for like the first week or 2 until we have a bunch of masters players. So not sure. I don't think they said anything anywhere about how they will handle that. I'll keep you posted. So if there won't be a metagame breakdown for a week or 2, that's probably gonna be why at the beginning of May. Alright. That's it again. If you have any questions or any feedback, let me know in the comments down below. And of course, make sure to show our sponsors some love. You can find the link to the NordVPN deal and information in the description again, as well as the data sheets. And yeah, if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe, share with your friends, and please consider whitelisting YouTube on your adblock or turn off your adblock. That really helps all your favorite content creators on here, and it's free. So thanks again for watching. I'm your host ManuS. I'll see you next time. Bye.